Steven, are you on the line?
I am on the line.
Hey, it's good to talk to you.
Thanks for having me.
So, tell me a little bit about your background and how you got started with Rivetz.
So I've spent the last 20 years helping to build and set standards in the trusted computing space and enable hardware security capabilities that are out on well over a couple billion devices. And we started Rivetz back in 2013 to go down the path of enabling these technologies so that we could help reduce your reliance on username and passwords and help protect the keys that you use to subscribe to all the different services you belong to on the web.
Great. So how does blockchain help with this?
So blockchain helps tremendously because we believe the blockchain is going to provide how we can manage and maintain keys and also how we can pay for services that allow a simpler access model. So it makes it possible for my device to have, in essence, an allowance and spend microtransactions on different services for security, backup, recovery, different subscriptions that I belong to, really provide a new model for how we would belong to the different services on the web, especially as we move forward not only from your sort of mobile phone but into your Internet of Things. We think it's going to be very important to have a much better security model on how we in essence, friend devices with each other. So your collection of devices is really your identity, not just your superphone.
Right. Okay. So that's very interesting. So are you primarily focused on B2B services, or is this a B2C service?
I think it's probably a B2B2C. In other words, we build tools that developers can use to incorporate them into their apps. So they can take advantage within their application of the hardware security that's already in your phone. So these hardware security tools are like the tools that Samsung Pay uses to protect your credit cards, for example, in your phone. Those are available on a very broad range of handsets. And so now instead of having to type username and password into your app, your app can generate a key and encryption within the device that in essence pairs you to the service you belong to. So you log into your device, let your little robot log into all the services to which you belong. So you don't have to remember a different password for every different service.
Oh, okay. That's great. So, we have Rewards.com, obviously, and how would you envision us actually utilizing, the product?
So Rewards is such a great example of where, users don't want to have to think about how do they remember their username and password in order to use their rewards at different locations. You really want to just be able to have a presence that says, oh, look, you went to this specific site and some of your rewards might apply there. And so this is get a better deal or a better relationship or a different service quality. And so there's such an opportunity to, in essence, help the user roam to different experiences instead of log on to different experiences. It's in some ways very familiar in the way you use your phone when you use it for talking. You get in your car, you start a conversation, you drive across the state lines, your phone doesn't hang you up and ask you to please log in because you're now on a different network, right? Roaming has made that possible so you can have a seamless relationship across the web. And we think that same model can apply now to all the different services. We all use so many different sites. And how can I have rewards programs that cross different brands, cross different services? There's such a great opportunity to bring strength to the consumer relationship that's out there.
I agree. And Stephen, as you know, we definitely agree because we've already formed a partnership with you guys to actually start speccing out and putting that solution in place so we can do just that. Our mission is to take cryptocurrency mainstream and make it easy to use across merchants and globe and platforms, like you said. So I think that's going to be extremely crucial for us in the future, and we look forward to doing that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think this is the whole next stage of this crypto marketplace, which is, how do we move from the sort of very manual model today to a more automatic solution going forward? What does it feel like when you have 100 million mobile phones that have a wallet that's built into them where the keys are safe, right?
Exactly.
And we just somebody the other day used the great description of we need to make this stuff grandma simple. And that's exactly what we need to do, is to provide a great experience so that, people are just comfortable in using it, and it's not sort of something you have to work at learning and using. It just should just work.
It needs to be grandma simple. We say it's so easy, even your mom can use it all the time, and my mom can actually use it. But, I think that it needs to be simple, and the security needs to be there, but the access to the consumer needs to be there so they have control over what they're doing, too. I mean, I think the Facebook hearing was a classic example of that, and I think blockchain is a good example of a solution for that. You can still have a business, and you can still potentially have ad sales and give the consumer control over their data. And I think that, securing the data and also giving the consumers control over that data is very important. What do you think about building those components into your solution?
Oh, absolutely. And I think this is what makes it work, right? Blockchain provides us a fabric for how these keys can work, but imagine a future where everything you post on Facebook is encrypted when you post it. You could share a key to Facebook and says, we'll give you access. You can put it on any page for a year, but after a year, it comes back to my control, and I'm going to only share the information I want to share on a long-term basis. And Facebook, provide me a great service, store my history for all time, but let me decide how I want to share my public events. Because what was really cool when I was 2 years old and my mother was sharing stuff, maybe totally uncool when I'm 13. That pink bunny outfit was funny when I was 2, but at 13, it's just not good at all. And then there's a whole phase in the 20s that, we just want to forget that. So it's an interesting aspect of, how do we control and manage this information? And I think these are the technologies that we're just starting to put the foundations down for how that's going to play and how that could work. But we have to pass control back to the owner of the content and the data. This is how we connect those who create with those who consume.
Right. And I think that's a really big, important thing in the industry currently. And I see a lot of companies focus specifically on the consumer privacy aspect, in the blockchain space. Even, the project that we're doing, maintaining that consumer privacy is going to be very important as we go forward. So I know you've been in the market here for some time. Can you tell us when you actually got into the market and what made you decide to get into a blockchain and cryptocurrency project?
Sure. It's kind of a fun story. I ran a publicly traded company on NASDAQ for 15 plus years back in mid-90s through the 2000s. Left in 2013 to form Rivetz. We started the company, raised a couple $1 million from high net worth individuals and some small funds, and we're building technology, and really had an interesting time. I got involved in blockchain back in 2014, and there was a clear fit between what we were doing and what blockchain was all about. And so it's been an interesting process of sort of learning and understanding that technology and articulating where we fit. Last summer, I was actually in New York at the Consensus blockchain show, and it became very clear that it was an opportunity to go down the path of a token sale to properly operate our project.
Right.
And that tokens would make a fantastic mechanism for how we would do microtransactions for cybersecurity services and controls. We successfully had a token sale that went off from August 10th through September 10th, and have provided our buyers with a token really that I think will provide the next generation of cybersecurity controls. So, how do we bind different services of backup and authentication, and, is your email on the dark web? Are services now that can become part of things like two-factor authentication. So as an example, before your phone generates your two-factor authentication codes in trusted execution hardware, we could check and see whether your email, as an example, has been already compromised on the dark web. So, don't unlock my second factor if my email is already compromised. And those are the kinds of services that we think people will spend, a few pennies for or $1 for, depending on the length of time and the service, or maybe only when they're doing a high dollar value transaction.
Yeah, no, it seems in this environment today that it's extremely important to manage your personal security. We see information and stuff getting lost by companies, being hacked, all types of things that are happening to your personal information. So, as a consumer, am I able to use Rivetz, or is there a product yet that I can use, and what's on the horizon for you?
Yeah, so the first product that a consumer will be able to use, we expect to be available in the market in very soon, in the next month or so, is a two-factor authenticator. It'll be available in the Google Play Store. And the difference between what we're doing and, let's say, a standard Google authenticator is that the keys and the codes are actually embedded within the hardware of the chipset of the phone. And so we're taking full advantage of the trusted computing capabilities of the hardware device. And we're also providing then an extensive mechanism for backup and recovery of those keys to your other devices. So if you lose your phone, you don't have to worry that you lost all your access keys. So we're trying to provide a simpler and safer environment where you're not just trusting the operating system to hold your secrets, but you're actually leveraging the embedded hardware that's there. Similar to how Apple's doing Apple Pay, where they trust the embedded hardware, as opposed to the operating system to protect your credit cards in Apple Pay.
Now, is this something that would help a consumer with, a SIM swap, hack? I had a good friend of mine. He actually just had that happen to him. Somebody, created a driver's license ID, walked into Verizon store, got a SIM card, and within a matter of minutes, they were in all of his accounts and starting to try to drain money from him.
Yeah, absolutely. This is. These technologies are what allow us to bind the actual device and not the SIM. The problem with SIM swaps is that the customer service department of the carrier is actually there to help you get a new phone when you lose your phone and to not make it annoying and inconvenient. But now all of a sudden we bound your phone number to accessing services like bank accounts and blockchain exchanges, et cetera. And so what Rivetz is providing with our two-factor hardware authentication really moves that to binding it to the hardware of your device. So similar quality of security of protecting the keys, but something that you completely control. So it hopefully will provide users just an easier mechanism to know that they have a safe transaction. And really it's just a starting point for us. We're very focused on how we bring these technologies into Internet of Things and into the other devices so that your collection of devices is really how you access all your services. So if you lose a phone, maybe it takes two of your devices to recover to a new phone. Or, if you want to change your SIM, maybe two or three of your devices have to acknowledge the change as opposed to just a customer service support agent. I think there are many things that are possible going forward that shift control back to the hands of the consumer, give us a safer experience, and reduce the number of passwords we have to remember all the time.
Right. So, I know you've been traveling all over the world, Steven, and so where are you going to end up next here?
Actually, I'm currently in Iceland on my way to Miami. So we'll be at the Miami blockchain event on Wednesday, and I think we're in Cayman Islands for the weekend, and then I'm in Amsterdam a weekend from now. So welcome to this global business that is cryptocurrency.
Yep, definitely is.
There's no rest for the weary.
All right, Steven. Hey, it's been a pleasure speaking with you. You can look up Rivetz at Rewards.com. We've been speaking with Steven Sprague. Steven, it was always a pleasure, and I look forward to seeing you at the next event.
Thank you so much, and we really enjoyed being partners with you, and we look forward to helping the consumer have a better, safer, and more fun experience on the web.
Great.